Hey guys, it's Gianna, Midwifay. Today I wanted to talk about how to have an empowered hospital birth. I get a lot of people asking me, a lot of friends, family, I want to be in the hospital for my birth, but I really don't want all those interventions. I want to be able to speak up for myself and say what I want. How do I do that? So here is my video with some tips and tricks to help make that happen. I've kind of honed in on three main things that are going to help you have an empowered birth in the hospital setting. If you are interested in learning, let's take a listen. And I love this question because it's really truly what I am passionate about, which is giving people options and knowledge to make their own choices. I'm not about a certain type of birth. I actually fell in love with this quote by January Harsh. She is a birth advocate who runs a blog and a page talking about birth options, and I really resonate with it. Not that I don't care what kind of birth you have. I just mean I am not here to tell you which way to birth. I just really want to make sure you have all the choices and the knowledge in order to make the decision that's best for you. And the other thing I want to emphasize is that, studies show that women rate their birth experience and how they feel not based on the outcome, whether they had a vaginal delivery or C-section or, God forbid, a major complication for themselves or their baby. It's, did they feel supported throughout the process? Did they feel like they had knowledge and information to make the best decision for them throughout the process? So again, I want to share these three things that I think can make all the difference for you to have an empowered hospital birth. And my first tip for you is hiring a truly supportive OB provider. What does that mean? When you're pregnant, you can be cared for by a variety of providers. OBGYNs, nurse practitioners, midwives, PAs, which are physician assistants. There's so many types of providers that provide care for pregnant people. There's lots of structures to OB practices. Big practice, small practice. Does your OB share call with 5 other OBs, 10 other OBs? Do they do shift work where it's not really on call, they're just in the hospital? Do they have residents that are involved either in the clinic setting or the hospital setting? So knowing your OB practice, it can help you know if you have a truly supportive OB provider. Now, I know many people find their OB, honestly, based on insurance, what their insurance covers, who's local, and or on recommendations from friends that have had babies before. And although there's nothing wrong with that, that's a great starting place, and I understand the realities of insurance. However, once you identify the 1, 2, 3, 4 practices in your area, then take a closer look at who makes up that practice. Again, is it all physicians? Do they have any advanced practice providers, any midwives, any nurse practitioners? If you've watched my channel at all, my What is a Midwife video, you can see there's definitely a difference between care that midwives provide versus OBs. So if you have the option of a practice that has midwives, I would definitely encourage you to go in that route. So once you've selected these are the OB providers in your area, or that your insurance takes, or that will go to the hospital that your insurance takes, then really do some deeper diving. I encourage you to ask specific questions of your OB providers. Some ideas of some questions you can ask are, what is your philosophy of pregnancy and birth? I'm thinking about hiring a doula. What has been your experience with that? And you can ask some more specific questions like, what is your C-section rate? What is your episiotomy rate? I think people shy away from asking open-ended questions and or targeted questions like these because, they feel like, well, that's my doctor and he or she knows what's best. They don't have to explain themselves to me. And although your doctor, provider is a wealth of knowledge, I'm not saying that they're not, you still deserve to interview them as well. Do they prioritize you and your wants and your needs? Of course, if something is urgent or emergent, you want them to step in and do what they need to for you and your baby. But, you are a person going through this crazy experience for the first, second, third time, doesn't matter. Do they prioritize you as a person? Some red flags when you're looking at finding a supportive provider. Are you able to schedule with them easily? Do you always get passed off to the office people? You can't really get scheduled. Do they have to get rescheduled a lot? How long are your visits? Are you seeing them for 7 minutes? That's it. And you don't even really get to ask your questions because you forgot. Mentioning things like induction or C-section or repeat C-section within the first trimester. I just think that there's really no reason when they should be mentioning things like that in the beginning. That completely takes the onus of control off of you and makes everything medical and about their expertise and knowledge from the beginning. So those are some red flags when looking for a supportive OB provider. What I want to empower you with is the knowledge that if after a couple of visits you learn, okay, this person maybe isn't supportive, I don't really feel right in this environment, you can switch providers. You don't have to stay there. Again, go back to that drawing board. I know it's annoying to look through insurance and find who's covered with my insurance, etc., but it is worth it. If you're getting red flags, if you're uncomfortable, you can switch providers, okay? My second big secret for having an empowered hospital birth is a truly supportive birth setting. Now, this video in particular is just about hospital birth, so I'm not going to, you can check out my place of birth video. That's where I talk about home birth versus hospital birth versus birth center birth. But in this particular video, I'm talking about hospital birth. So how can we create a truly supportive setting within the hospital? Firstly, having your truly supportive and knowledgeable OB provider is really the first step in setting up this supportive birth setting. And then secondly, again, when you're doing your research, either through your insurance company or whatever, there are ways that you can look up your hospital's statistics and look at the way that they support or don't support physiologic birth topics. Some great resources for you to check out are the Leapfrog group, the CDC Wonder database, and Birthplace Lab. These are websites that you can use to do research on your hospital, to look at their statistics ahead of time, to look at things like C-section rate, induction rate, episiotomy rate, etc., so that you can make informed decisions when approaching your birth. The huge thing about ensuring you have a supportive birth setting is hiring a doula. I will not talk about it anymore, except for I'll talk about it all the time. Doulas are amazing resources for women and birthing couples. They are specifically trained to be with you and support you throughout pregnancy, the birth, and the postpartum period. This is a person that you will know personally. Again, when you start talking to OB providers, you will see that there's a lot. They work in call groups. You don't necessarily know who's going to be there, but your doula will be with you. He or she will support you, advocate for you, really help you come up with your goals and plans for the birth. And when you're in that setting and in the birth, they will help maintain that space so that you can keep going towards those goals for birth that you and your partner identified. So hiring a doula is essential to having a supportive birth setting in the hospital. Some other things to think of that may be important to you with your birth setting are knowing who's there in hospital. Are there residents there? L&D nurses, are they the main support? Is your hospital one, if there's a few, that has an in-hospital doula program? If you have some pregnancy complications that you're aware of, do they have a NICU that is able to support your baby if you need NICU support, or in-house anesthesia if that's something that you need? So there's a couple of different things that you can look into to make sure that your birth setting is supportive for the type of birth you want. My third tip is educate yourself, okay? Educate yourself. The more you can read about normal pregnancy and normal birth, the better off you are. Now, let me just start by saying to all of us millennials and Gen Zers, okay, that love the internet and use it for all of our stuff, yes, you can follow some amazing IG pages. I hope I'm one of them. You can follow some amazing YouTube accounts. Same with that. that's not enough, okay? The reason people like me have started our IG pages, YouTube accounts, is to point you in direction of really accurate information that I want you to dive more into and learn about to educate yourself, okay? You need to take a childbirth class. When I say a childbirth class, I mean a fully comprehensive class that talks about the normal stages of physiology of birth, as well as potential interventions you might experience, coping mechanisms to deal with labor, and ways that you can advocate for yourself in the hospital setting. So when I say childbirth class, I am not saying your hospital's L&D class, okay? I'm not discouraging you from doing that. You can take that class if you want. It's pretty good to teach you logistics like where to park, when you're going to come in, how you're going to get there. Often there's a tour involved. With COVID now, a lot of these things are virtual, but it does get you to familiarize yourself with your specific hospital. However, these classes really work on teaching you how to be a good patient and follow the rules once you get into a hospital, and they really don't teach you an overall global understanding of your body, of what birth is, and how to cope with it. I have another video all about different childbirth prep classes and how to know which one's right for you. But I really want to encourage you to check out my website to register for the evidence-based birth childbirth class that I teach. Evidence-based Birth is an amazing organization that offers evidence-based information to birthing families and birth workers to help you understand what is happening throughout the childbirth process, throughout the maternity care system, ways you can advocate for yourself, and it really just prepares you for things you don't know that you don't know. Please look at the link in the description to register now for my class. It's a January 2022 series. I would love to have you. It's all virtual on Zoom because of the times of COVID. So you can be in the safety of your home, get to know some other couples, work with me personally. I'd love to mentor you and work with you through this journey. So yes, mama, please take the time to invest in a class for yourself, for your partner. I think it's crazy. We spend so much money on weddings and planning our wedding, and your wedding is an amazing day. I know mine was. However, the birth of your child is equally, if not more amazing, right? And you really should invest in that for yourself, so that you and your partner and your family, whoever is supporting you, knows how best to support you and get you to having an empowered birth, even within the hospital setting that can be so overwhelming and daunting to navigate. I hope that helps. I hope you take to heart those three things: supportive OB provider, supportive birth setting, and educating yourself. Those are huge and go a long way in getting you prepared for your informed and empowered hospital birth. All right, I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.